Never have we been called to listen, and to really listen as much as we are now. But shifting power dynamics that are deeply embedded inside structures and processes is hard. However, addressing the way we communicate can be the engine for shifting the power.
Basically, what you're doing is as you pointed out, you are prioritizing a story because that person may be easier to communicate to because they can speak English, or you can relate to them.
How exactly do you empower cultural identity through communications?
But I guess through a number of ways. One, there's empowerment through legislation, so through mandates. So Pacific Media Network, it emanated from the community within Aotearoa, New Zealand 30 years ago. So it came from the Pacific diaspora community. And then finally, I think we've created platforms which belong to us, right? We don't need someone else's mic, right? We've created our own mic.
So I think communication medium that's easily reachable at the community level where people can understand it, it has to be culturally appropriate.
In some ways, it has brought connecting people a lot closer from further ways, like Sarah's pointing out, but it's also widened the digital divide. I also think that there's a lot on digital spaces, there's a lot of focus on the spoken word and on the verbal communication, but for Pacific Islanders, we communicate in many ways, like the non-verbal communication is also a key part of our storytelling.
As I said, well-intended, but missing meaningful representation. It only offers a small window into the experiences and the stories of people of color. It also assumes that we need to go to these platforms to share our stories, whereas I don't think that's meaningful collaboration. There are so many, and Peter mentioned this, there's so many well-established platforms that are out there that have been created by Pacific people for Pacific people.
Like Arietta said, I mean, I think that for some of them, the intention was good, but execution are terrible. But sometimes they even have to think back on that intention. Are they actually putting the people, the community, the brown or the black community at the center? Or are they just trying to make themselves feel better for the terrible things that are happening in the world? I also think that some of that investment needs to go into creating safe communication. Like, how do we make communication a lot safer across these platforms?
I think an obvious one is gaining consent from people in communities that are receiving aid and development, and ensuring that they know exactly what they're consenting to and how their stories will be portrayed wherever it will be, and ensuring that their stories are not portrayed in a way that puts them at further risk, or portrays them even in a way that they do not wish to be portrayed.
I think if you want to work with communities, then you need to really sit down and ask what our expectations are. And we've got this lot of money and we can work with you in this way, but how can we work together? I think that's a question that's never been truly asked.
Google. There's no shortage of platforms. This is the point I'm trying to get across to the audience. There's no shortage of platforms. Why we have to create, go to a non-Pacific settings of platforms? I guess that's the message I want to leave.